I don't know why they changed that feature. So welcome back. It's Wednesday once again, and we're doing the TOEFL and GRE prep. It's so good to see you, and we're going to go ahead and get right into it, okay? So I'm going to share my screen, and let's see what we're going to work on today. And hopefully you're changing from this picture, right? You're feeling more confident and not biting on your pen anymore, right? Right. Okay, so it's class 4 out of 11, and we're going to keep going with our TOEFL prep today. And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do today. Okay, so good to see you. Here we go. So today's agenda is to finish up the speaking integrated tasks and move on to listening. Okay, so we've finished speaking task 1, which is the independent speaking task, and we moved on to one of the integrated speaking tasks, which is the first one, which is sometimes considered question number 2, about the campus announcement. And I'd like to move on to question number 3 and question number 4. Today, technically, we're supposed to be moving on to listening, but I feel like we should finish the speaking part before we move on, okay? So you'll have time to practice with a partner. We will practice together as well. And then we're going to move on to listening should we have time today. So we'll just see how we're feeling about these 2 different tasks, okay? So today, just to be very careful about time, we're not going to go say hello to your partner just yet. Okay, we're going to start all together and we're just going to jump right into it. So I wanted to say after last class, and I know I mentioned it right at the end, but maybe we can set our intention for today. What I heard a lot of was, oh, I can't do this, or, oh no, MB's in the room and now she's listening to me and I'm panicked. So I just want to set the intention that this is a judgment-free zone. So that means including judging yourself, okay? So just try to be here. You're here to practice. That is why you're here. You're here to ask questions should you need to. And we're all here to help each other move forward, okay? So just put your critic aside for a second, tell them to take a nap or go get a coffee or something. But you are here to learn and to just see what we're gonna do today, okay? So don't be so hard on yourself if you can, okay? All right. So we're going to go back to the integrated speaking tasks, which there are 3 different types of, okay? And last week we did the reading plus listening to a conversation plus doing a speaking, okay? So I'm kind of saying that that is complete. Do you feel like that one you're pretty secure about? Everybody good? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to move on to what they call question 3 and question 4. And question 3 is about reading something, listening to a lecture, okay? The reading is usually about an academic topic, listening to a lecture about that topic, and then doing a speaking about that topic. And question 4 is kind of similar. You're listening to a lecture as well, and then you're speaking about that topic, okay? So we're going to focus on these 2, and I'm going to go through each of them specifically, give you some hints, as well as a template, and then we're going to practice together, and then you're going to practice with your partner, okay? So we're going to go through the first one, which is the question number 3, which is sometimes referred to as the general to specific question, okay? So there are 4 different types, and there are 3 different types of the integrated speaking task. So this is question number 3. So like I said, it's going to be a reading plus listening to a lecture about the same topic and asking you to speak about that topic, okay? And your job is to explain what the topic is and say what examples were given, okay? So we're going to go over a little bit about how you're going to take your notes. But this is really your job. You're not being asked to interpret it in your own opinion. You're just being asked to say the information back to the recording, okay? So you might just keep in mind that the reading is going to give you background information. The lecture is going to give you someone's examples of the same topic, okay? And you need to make sure that you really answer the question that they're asking you, okay? So I just simplified the tip for this specific question because I just want you to pay attention that the reading, whatever you read, is going to give you some information. Then you're going to listen to a lecture about the same topic, and you're going to listen for those examples because you're going to have to say what the topic is, explain a little bit about it, and you're going to have to give the examples that were given in the lecture, okay? So a possible template for this, I'll just give you some suggestions, and this is also on the handout, and I will also move this over to the chat so you can use it when you're practicing. So you might start off by saying something like, according to the reading, the topic is blah, and it means blah, okay? So you're gonna say what the topic is, you're gonna say what that topic means, all right? So that's going to come from what you read, and then it's going to later be explained in more detail in the lecture, all right? So you could also say, we learned from the reading that the topic is blah, 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 and you're going to explain what it is, all right? These are just two possible ways to start, all right? And then you might start to say, in the lecture, the professor talks about this subject in detail by providing two examples, by providing one example, okay? And then you're going to, then you're going to explain what those examples are, okay? So you're going to start off by saying what you read in the reading, by explaining what the topic is. Then you're going to transition into talking about what the lecture is about, okay? By using that example or saying how many examples that they gave in their lecture, all right? Then you might continue by saying, to begin with, the lecture explains that and say what the first example is, okay? So you might explain very clearly exactly what the professor said, all right? So just keep in mind for this one, this is question 3, from general to specific, you're going to be listening very carefully for these examples, all right? So you want to listen to hear what the topic is, how it is explained, which will come from the reading and from the lecture. And then you're going to listen for what examples do they give, because you have to say those examples back, okay? So just kind of have in your mind that these are things that you need to pay attention to, okay? And then you might also say, if you start it, is to say, first the professor talks about, and you talk about it that way, okay? You can continue by saying, next the lecture talks about, these are just examples of a possible format that you can follow, okay? And give details of that example if you have time, okay? And then you might just close it if you have time. If you still have time, you're gonna close it by saying, in conclusion, I have a better understanding of whatever the topic is. Or now, after listening to this lecture and reading this example, I have a better understanding of and say what the topic is, okay? So these are just this is just one template way that you could answer this question, okay? Is everybody okay? You all right? Hi, guys. Yeah? Okay. All right. So I'm going to move this over to the chat. Okay. And what you can do is, it's also on the handout that I'm going to give you at the end, but what you can do for right now is just copy it for yourself so you have it. And what I thought we could do next is practice this question. Okay. Practice and think about how you're going to answer this question. Okay. So this is the first one. Thanks, Anata. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so just take it in for a moment. Make sure you understand kind of how it's going to be laid out, okay? And then we're going to listen to we're going to read one example together. We're going to listen to the lecture that goes with that. And then with your partner, you're going to practice the speaking part, okay? So just take a look at how you might answer it. Think about how you might use that yourself, okay? And then we're going to actually practice. So just give you one moment to do that. Everybody feeling okay? Yeah? 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 Any questions about this particular speaking task? You okay? So just to remind you, you will have 45 to 50 seconds to read. You will have to listen for about a minute and a half, and then you will have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to answer, okay? So just kind of keep that in your mind as you're getting ready. And then we're gonna move on to try one together and see how we do, okay? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Does everyone feel like they're ready? Yeah? Remember, judgment-free zone. We're all here. We're all gonna give our best shot, right? Okay. You're just gonna give it a try. If you have questions afterwards, then we're gonna take time to answer those questions together, okay? So what we're gonna do next is I'm going to set my timer and we're going to look at the reading. Oops. We're gonna look at the reading and then you'll have 45 to 50 seconds to get ready for that, okay? And then we'll listen to the next part, all right? All right, here we go. All right, so time's up. Okay, we're gonna listen to the next part, which has to do with this actual reading, okay? So just listen, it's about a minute and a half, and then I'm gonna ask you a question. So here we go.
An example of how you might go about this is, well, I'll describe a lesson I observed a few weeks ago. The teacher was teaching children about nature, about plants, specifically about how to identify different trees. The first thing she did was to play a game where students had to name as many trees as they could without writing anything down, just speaking out loud. Then after that little activity, she described the different ways you can identify trees, from the shape of their leaves, their buds, their bark, and so on. But you can imagine that the kids who don't have very good imaginations, they couldn't really visualize what she was talking about. Their minds were starting to wander. They were shuffling in their seats and getting distracted, but that was okay, because next, she showed some photos for them to look at on the electronic whiteboard, then passed around some picture books. Students then copied some of the pictures into their exercise books. And after that, students got the chance to go out into the school grounds and physically identify some of the trees that were there. So it was quite an effective lesson, very memorable. And the pupils looked very engaged. A week later, I asked one of them to describe to me the leaf of an oak tree, and she did so perfectly.
Right. Sorry. All right. All right. So here's the question. It's in the chat. So what you're going to do with your partner is you're going to give each other 30 seconds to think about how you would answer this, okay? And then you're going to give each other 60 seconds, all right, to actually say your answer. If you can, record your answer. It will help you as you process and think about what's the best way to answer this question, okay? So I'm going to open up the chat, open up the breakout rooms. Here we go. Good luck. You can do it. Alicia, are you here? Hello? Yeah. All right. Okay. How did you do? Yeah?
It was good.
Yeah? Good. Good. Okay. So were there any challenges? Anything that you had a little bit of trouble with?
I think during the reading part, I see that the text was really long, so I did have trouble to get all the key points of the text in the time that was given for us.
Okay. Okay. So I
had the same difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah. I only gave you 45 seconds. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. I only gave you 45 seconds. You might have up to 50 seconds, just so you know. So you might have 5 more seconds to get some more information, right? 5 more seconds, come on, right? Right, right. Okay, any other thoughts?
The time constraints to answer the questions, and the volume of the information that we need to pack it for a 60-second answer.
Right, right. So big challenge, right? Right, yeah. Okay, so maybe practicing with that template is going to give you just some really quick ways to organize your ideas and get right to the main points as quickly as you can, okay? So please remember, these are just suggestions, all right? If you say like the reading was about blah, and then you go right into the lecture talks about this and gives these examples, you can go right into that. If you're stumbling over some of the suggestions that I'm making, take them out, okay? If it doesn't work for you, take it out, okay? But you need to introduce what the topic is. And for this one, you need to say what the lecture is about and what examples they give, okay? Those are your main 3 things for this particular question, all right? Right? Yeah? Okay, so how are you feeling? I'd like to move on to question 4, but how are you feeling? Would you like to practice again? Are you ready? Ready to move on to question 4? Yeah? Everybody okay? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so I have 2 handouts for you today, and I'll show you where there's more practice for you. If you want to go back specifically to question 3 today, I'll show you where you can practice. And I also have some more practice for question 4. Okay. All right, so let's do this. So question 4 is the next question that you're going to be focusing on, which is also an integrated speaking task, okay? And it looks like this. It is a lecture plus a speaking, all right? So the lecture is about an academic topic, and it's going to ask you to give the topic just like you just did, and give the examples or details given, okay? It is considered academic, so that the lecture is academic topic. Maybe you have no idea what they're talking about, but your job is to listen for what the topic is about, understand it as best as you can, and then try to give the examples that they give, okay? So I also have a template for you to practice for this one, okay? So what you're gonna do is, I'm gonna move on. So just remember that the lecture, sorry, the lecture is giving you information about a topic. You need to try to understand what the topic is, even if you can't spell it perfectly. You need to try to understand what the topic is and then give the examples that they're talking about, all right? Kind of like what you just did. So the last one was reading, listening, and then speaking. This one is just listening and speaking, all right? Maybe a little bit higher level vocabulary than you might be used to, but what you're gonna try to do is listen and try to give that information back. You do not need to add your opinion. You do not need to add your opinion. You're simply adding, or you're simply saying what examples they give about the topic. Okay, so you're going to introduce the topic and say what examples they give about the topic. Okay, all right, so ooh, here we go. So possible template is to just say the professor talks in detail about blah, blah, blah. All right, you could start with that. All right, or the lecture gives a lot of information about blah, 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 and say what the topic is. All right. I'm going to move this over to the chat in a moment so you can copy it down or just listen. You could then start to say, to explain the topic, the professor first talks about and give whatever example they talk about. Okay? So you're going to say that the professor talks in detail about, say what it is. And then to explain about this topic, the professor says blah, 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 and give whatever first example they give. All right? Next, you can keep going. He or she explains in more detail by giving the next example. Usually there are 2 examples, okay? So however you want to move to the next point, but this is just one suggestion, okay? And then finally, you're going to say, after listening to this lecture, just like you closed the last speaking task, after listening to this lecture, I now have a better understanding of, and say what the topic is, all right? So you're going to state what the topic is. So this lecture is about, and you're going to say what it's about. Then you're going to say, to explain this topic, the lecturer talks about, or the professor talks about, and you're going to give the first example. You're going to move on to the next example, all right? Just to explain in more detail, the professor then says, blah, 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 give the next detail. And then you're going to close what you're saying by saying, after listening to this lecture, I learned more about, or now I know more about, and you're going to close what it's talking about. All right? Everyone kind of get their head around that? Have a good sense of that? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to bring this over to the chat for you.
I just have a question. In the question 4, we have how many time to talk is the same as the previous one?
That's a really good question. Hold on one second. I think I have it here for you. Let me double check that. I think the lecture is 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. And I think, sorry, let me just double check that. I think for this one you have, I have it here, sorry. I don't want to say the wrong thing. You have 30 seconds to prepare. No, that's not right. I think this one is shorter, no? 20 seconds to prepare. Sorry, that's what I thought. 20 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to talk. Good question. Yeah, so a little different from the last one. You had 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to talk. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, thanks, Aguinaldo. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so what I thought we could do is listen to the lecture together, or I can give you the link and you can practice with your partner. And then what you're going to do is give each other 20 seconds and then 60 seconds to speak. 20 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. It might be helpful if you're the timer that you show the time on the screen, because if you were on the computer, the timer would be counting down. It would show you how much time you have. Okay, so that might be helpful for your partner if they're talking on and you're like, wait, time's up, right? And they have no idea. Okay, so how about we go with your partner and let's see. Yeah, sorry, here we go. I'm looking at the wrong thing. How about we go with a partner and I'll show it to you together, but go with your partner and this is what you're gonna do. So let me show you what you're gonna do. There's so many things open, I can't find anything, right? Okay, it's gonna look like this, sorry. Okay, so it's speaking part 4. All right, you're gonna listen to the lecture here. Please stop the lecture at the end because they do give you a sample answer. You don't wanna listen to that until you try yourself, okay? And then you're gonna answer this question here, all right? You're gonna answer this question here. If when you're finished, when you've both finished, you wanna go back and listen to the sample answer, you can do that, all right? So you have an idea of how one might answer that question, okay? Everybody okay? So I'm gonna give you this link. You're gonna click right here and listen to the lecture, all right? And then you're gonna answer this question here, all right? So 20 seconds to prepare, it's a little shorter time, and then 60 seconds to speak, all right? Everybody okay? Yeah, okay. And then you have a sample template, all right? Just use that, just try to play around with it. If you're reading off your paper, that's fine for right now, you're just practicing, okay? See if you can use those ideas and just organize your ideas while you're doing it, okay? Just try. Remember, we're here to practice, okay? Just do your best. All right, here we go. Let me give you the link. And then I'm gonna open the rooms for you. Good luck. You can do it. All right, here we go. So weird. How was it? Hi. Good? You feel better? Yeah? Yeah? Feel better? Yeah? All right.
I would like to have this group to practice every day. It's always better when we practice together than alone.
So why don't you start a study group? You could be a study group. Why not?
We made it the first time that we had the room.
Yeah.
And me, let's see the Tiago and Elder. We made it in WhatsApp, and then we try to share some things. But as everyone is working very hard and have lots of things to do, this is the time we get the most.
Okay. Yeah, but you are welcome. You are welcome to make a new friend and make a group together. Yeah, why not? You can help you. You can help each other, right? Yeah. So now you have practiced all the questions for the speaking test. How did you feel about question number 4? Were you okay? Kunda? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Well, I think, go ahead.
I found more difficult than the 31.
Okay.
I don't know if it's about the accent or maybe the topic, but it was also hard to take notes of that and see what was important when I was speaking.
Right. To be honest, when I listened to this one, I thought I thought he pronounced the word Mars very funny. He was like, Mars. And he kept saying it. And I was like, am I listening to the right word? Like, even for me, it sounded strange. So if you were thinking that, yeah, it was a little bit strange. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts about either question 3 or question 4? Any other thoughts? You okay? Yeah. Okay. So we only have about 7 more minutes. I'm not going to jump into listening, but I'm going to point out a couple of different resources for you. Okay. So we have, this is the handout for today. So these are just reminders that I started with. You know this already from other handouts. This is where we started today. So we started with question 3 and question 4. And these are just how we went through today. Okay. And then I put the template here just as an example. All right. This is the reference that I'm talking about. I'm also referencing that one TOEFL prep that I gave you last time. I'm happy to put it in the chat again if you need it. And this is where we practice question 3. All right, if you want to go back to it. And then this is question 4, how we went through today. All right. And this is a template that we used. All right. So I'm going to give this to you in one moment. And this is where you just practice with your partner. All right. So I thought if you wanted to practice question 3, so if you leave this class and you want to practice question 3 right away, again, here are some suggestions here. Okay. There are 2 examples here. And also more practice for question 4 is right here. Okay. And then I just wanted to point out some resources that maybe you know about, but that are on the web. And let's see, not that, this one. So this gives you, this says TOEFL listening practice resources, but it actually gives you links to free resources that are on the internet for you to practice with. So just point out a couple of them. And I'm going to put this link in the chat. If you're familiar with this one, what they do is they go through each section. All right. See over here, you can get the practice sets. All right. And you can actually practice with a listening, with an audio. You can actually practice the speaking test with an audio and with a text here. So these are all free. This is just an idea for you to practice. Okay, I'll put this in the chat in 1 second. And this is also free. This looks, I think this looks very, yeah, this is exactly the same. Hold on. And then some of the listening, and I'll put this in the chat as well. Some of the listening practice, sorry, we're not on listening yet. But anyway, if we're moving on to listening, if you go to the very bottom, always at the bottom of ETS web pages, they often say this, need more practice, and they will give you samples, okay? So if you type in for the speaking test, you want to practice for the speaking test, ETS will give you samples from old tests, all right? So usually you just have to keep scrolling down, but they will be there. I've downloaded some of the sets myself, and it just gives you ways to practice on your own, okay? So I'm just pointing those out, and let me put these in the chat for you, all right, so that you have them, and so that you can practice should you have time. And I would highly encourage you, if you have time, to make a study group. I know we don't have a lot of time, but if you could say you'll meet with your friends for 30 minutes even, right? 30 minutes you could practice and just go over one of those speaking tests and practice together and time each other and help each other, all right? I think the most important thing is that you try to not panic, and maybe being with a friend or being with someone that you're familiar with will help you not to panic. And then the more you practice, the more confident you'll feel as you get ready for the test, okay? Any thoughts or questions?
I heard that the question 3, the lecture plus listening, is the hardest one from the speaking section, because you needed to use 2 different things, like reading and listening.
Right.
And you needed to summarize those 2 things at the same time.
Right. That's a good point. Right. So from what I've read, Aguinaldo, they're asking you mostly about what the person says in the lecture. So the reading is giving you some background information to reference, and then they're asking you to give the examples. But I think you're right, because you have to take the reading and then apply it to the listening and then say something about it, right? But if you can pull out from the listening the examples that they give, that's kind of what they're looking for in the answer. Yeah. But thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
MB, is it the last class about TOEFL or the next one?
No. We were supposed to talk about TOEFL listening today.
Okay.
We did not. So we will start with that next week. No, we have a couple more classes for TOEFL. Yeah. And then we're moving on to GRE. Yeah. All right. Well, I see improvements every week. Maybe you don't, and maybe you're being very critical of yourselves, but I see you improving every week. And I think you can do it. I know you can do it. All right. So just keep trying. Use this space to practice. That's why we're all here. Okay. Ask questions if you don't understand, and we'll just keep moving forward. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, it is time to go. I know I'm going to see some of you again very soon. So take a nice break. If I'm not going to see you again, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Okay? Take care. Bye, guys. See you later. Bye. See ya. See ya. See ya. Bye-bye. Good night.